When is a photo not a photo? That's what I'm going to be covering today. Hello, hello. I will get on the screen in a minute. It's the Shot at an Angle show, as always, every Wednesday, 7 p.m. GMT. I'm here every week. I'm feeling a little bit relaxed and groovy this week. Relaxed and groovy, William. That's a great start to the show. Let me get myself on screen with this a bit of swish fade here. Watch this fade. You'll be amazed by this. And there I am. Hello. I am William Manklow. I am the host of the Shot at an Angle show. Shot at an Angle show. Don't say it too fast, William. The Shot at an Angle show, which is here every week on this page, 7 p.m. If you haven't watched it before, why not? If you're this is the first time you've watched it, where are you watching from? Who are you? What's your favourite revel in a bag of revels? And oh, it must be raining outside because we've got a rainbow. Or what? That's a nice that's a nice sign to the start of this show. I can see right out of my window here. There's a rainbow. Anyway, yeah, this is a very creative, eclectic, fun show. I try to make it as an understanding place as possible. When I do any photography tuition or anything like that, I try to, I'm just like to be patient with the person I'm talking to and really listen to what they're saying and engage with them and understand where they're coming from and understand what they're trying to actually create. I'm going to delve into that a bit more next week's show on next week's topic, which I will reveal later. Today's topic, though, I cover a new topic every week. Today's topic is going specifically about our whole idea of when is a photo not a photo. And what I mean by that is, and I'll just get today's topic up. Yeah, what I mean by that is, how often have you seen a photograph on social media especially and you're blown away by the image and think, wow, that's an amazing photograph. How did the photographer actually do that? That's almost like it's almost like magic, or just a really talented individual as a photographer. And it can actually put a bit of undue pressure on you. What you might find interesting is that often with these images is when it's not a photo necessarily is when it becomes what's called a composite image. And I briefly just talked through with you what composite imagery is. Now you may be familiar with it because you probably have seen composite imagery before, but this is when you have several photographs layered on top of each other, or just almost to create a collage or to create a different effect. But what it can do is create this illusion that it's actually still a photograph. Now I'm going to share a couple of examples of these composite images, and you probably have come across these types of photographs before. Just quickly check the comments, and nothing so far. Yeah, so please feel free to comment as I'm going through this. Ask me any questions. Share this stream and drop me a like as well. I'd be very much appreciative of that. Yeah, so a whole idea of composite images, and I'm going to show you a couple of images in a minute, is where they've been digitally manipulated, but they still in some ways look real. Now I've picked up two photographs which are both stock images off the internet. I've only picked these because they're just examples. I'm not commenting specifically on these people's pieces of work, because they are creative works, but it's just to give you an idea of what the composite image looks like. So, yeah, composite images. Now, is this going to work? Let's have a look. I did actually try this out beforehand. Yes, it is working, I think. Is it going to work? Yes, there we go. It's working. Working. So, yeah, these two images we have here, this first one that I picked, again, it looks like such an interesting image. You've got this beautiful scene of this person sat by the river, and you can quite clearly see the moon in this photograph. Now, if you just looked at that, especially if you saw this on social media, you might just go, wow, that's a great photograph. But that's how whenever I try to take a photograph like this, it never comes up exactly like this. And the reason being is because this is, by definition, a composite image. So every single element of this, I can sort of pretty much see where the different elements are here. You can definitely see there's this bottom part here. So you can almost say that the bottom area of this photograph here, where you've got the person sat by the river here, and you've got the landscape here with the river, with the water. as being part of it. For the first part, these clouds, they don't really fit in, but we do have the reflection here, but that reflection doesn't necessarily match the cloud, so that could be a second part. But the moon's a dead giveaway that this is a composite image. The moon never appears that size in the sky. Whenever we perceive things with our own eyes, we are often governed by other things that are around. It's why the moon, and it basically forces the perspective of what you're looking at. So when you're looking at, say, the moon and it's up in the sky, it appears smaller than it does on the horizon. This is all to do with the fact that your eyes could, they can understand how big something like the tree is, and they know the scale of it. So when the moon is right next to it, it can appear bigger because your brain is trying to compensate and trying to figure out exactly how big it is. A camera never lies. A camera always shows you exactly the world as it is because it's just a mechanical device. So that's just one of the two images that I pointed out. I wanted to show you as far as composite imagery is concerned. The second one, now this is a bit more obvious, I suppose, in a way. That moon does not look realistic, but again, it can put you in a position of thinking, well, how can I replicate these images? This is all to do with composite imagery. This is putting photographs together and creating something a little bit more artistic. This is more art than photography. So I just wanted to really point those two things out to you, those two specific images. So when it comes to your own photography, it's often best to understand how your camera works, understand the rules of photography, and also to capture what you want directly in the camera. Make the camera work as much as possible. So if you understand how the camera works and you understand the rules of photography, and you put those two things together with a little bit of creativity from yourself, because photography doesn't take a huge amount of creativity to produce a good image. That's when you really get great photography. And I would also say that then, because you're actually you're allowing the camera to do so much of your work, you then actually can follow that process through and not have to do so much editing. What I've always prided myself on my own photography is that I will get it as right as possible in the camera and not try to do too much editing. And then when my photography comes out, it comes out as what was the original thought was. A lot of the original thought is there. A lot of the original idea is in that final image, and it comes out as pretty authentic. This isn't to say that I haven't edited photographs. I think there's there's this thing called, there's almost like a bit of an I think it's called an unhappy valley. So you have two extremes of where you have what's from the camera at one end and fully edited at the other end. And I think sometimes some people get sort of stuck in the middle. But what those photographs in the middle do, they kind of, especially if you're starting out with photography, if you feel that you've only just recently picked up the camera, maybe for the first time, or for, this is the first time you picked it up after maybe even a year or 2 years or a long time, you'd see all these digital images and you think, well, actually, all these images on social media especially, and think, well, I can't do that. And it puts this undue pressure on yourself to produce these type of images. So it's well worth, next time you're on social media, to look at these photographs and not set yourself unrealistic expectations. They are certainly, this is certainly a technique you can learn. And as I'll go back to what I said at the start, I don't say this is a bad thing. I mean, this is the whole thing about, you could go into the debate of whether Photoshop is good or bad. I mean, the actual word Photoshop is seen as a negative word by some people. That's been photoshopped out, or that's been photoshopped clearly. Yeah, it has been. I mean, the word photoshopping is really a way of digitally manipulating an image. So there's all sorts of ideas and thoughts around that, which I'd love to actually explore in a future episode. It's a little bit too too big a topic to really dive into to too much detail today. Yeah, so don't try not to have too much unrealistic expectations on your own photography, especially if you're trying to emulate what people like this artist are doing, where it's a composite image and it makes it look like that's actually a photograph. It's just something for you to think about. They have their place. I think, from my own opinion, they're not photography. They get their art. It kind of goes over into that category. It's just that sometimes it kind of has that sort of center ground. It holds that, some of them can hold that center ground where they actually do look like photographs, and that's where you've got to be careful with this sort of thing. And like I said, I'll say one more time. It can give you unrealistic expectations of what you're capable with your photography. So yeah, have a think about that. Have a think about what you're going to do next time you pick up your camera. I know at least one person that has watched this show in the past, actually, who photographs everything and doesn't edit at all. You know, they see themselves as not a photographer per se, but a photographer for a very different reason than art. They use a thing called psychogeography, so they're taking photographs of places that mean something to them, and they don't edit at all. And I think sometimes that's really quite refreshing. You know, that we do live in a world of overly edited images. They certainly have their place, but I for one, I love a good realistic feel to a photograph. I mean, by all means, if you edit a photo, by all means, accentuate the features that are in there. Use what was in there, but go into that photograph in the first place with an intention, so that when you come to edit, that intention is that edit is the fulfillment of that intention. It's the plan, shoot, review, which I haven't touched upon for a while, actually. This whole idea of the 3-step process of photography, where you plan your shot, you execute it, and then you review what you've got, and then you go through that cycle. So you can start at any point, but you start at the planning stage where you go, okay, this is what I want to do. You execute it by taking a photograph, by following through with that plan, and then you review it and think, did I get what I wanted from the plan? Did I follow through with the plan? If I didn't, why not? What do I need to learn? What do I need to change? And then go back to the start again. I've always preached this whole idea of keeping photography simple. But anyway, that's today's topic. When is a photo not a photo? The answer is when it's a composite image. And yeah, that's today's topic. It's an interesting topic. And if it's interesting to you, just write in the comments if there's anything that sort of springs to your mind right now. Any thoughts? Put them in the comments right now. As always, this show you can support this show by going to buymeacoffee.com/William Mankelo. The link is in the description. The screens are taking a while to come up today. I don't know what's going on there. Yeah, so there we go. So this is the Shot at an Angle show. The Shot at an Angle show. Buy me a coffee. So you can support this by buying me a coffee. 2 people have done that already. I always just put this in every week, so you're aware of it. You can support me on a monthly basis. There's 2 levels of membership. If you support me £5 a month, you can get directly have access to exclusive Q&A sessions where you'll be able to ask me directly about anything with creativity or photography, but specifically photography. If you've got a burning question about photography you want to ask me, that's where you can join up. And you could just have to join up for 1 month if you like to, just £5 a month. Or on the other hand, if you just want to support me as a one-off, you can buy me up to 5 coffees. And here's the burner now. And there's one person who's done this, or 2 people I should say that've done this. When I meet these people face to face, or anybody who supports me as a one-off, or even as a member, I will buy them a coffee face to face when we can do it, of course. if we get around to doing it. So anyway, that's, yeah, buy me a coffee. It leads me nicely on to this week's challenge. Now, the challenge this week is a little bit of a different one. I have talked about this a long time ago in several workshops that I actually did a few years ago. I used to run for nearly 2 years, I ran photo meets that met up in and around Oxford and Oxfordshire, that we go to different locations and talk about a specific subject. And I mentioned this particular subject, this particular challenge. And as far as I know, nobody's taken this up. This is the 24-shot challenge. I picked the number 24 purely because I remember the first camera I ever had was a 35mm fully automatic. And I think I got it was a 24-shot film. I don't think my mum bought me a 36-shot because it would have been a little bit more expensive. So 24 shots, in one day, you're only allowed to take 24 photos. That's the challenge. Take it up. Go out there and keep it simple. Whenever I set these challenges, I think of setting up, setting habits, creating habits. And habits themselves, to get them to create a habit, it has to start small, it has to start simple, and it has to be something that you can follow through and enjoy as well. Actually, there's an enjoyment factor to this as well. It's a challenge, it's an interesting challenge, but what if you could only take 24 photos in one day? Or I put one day down there, 1 hour, or even 10 minutes. The whole idea is that you're actually, and within that as well, you're not allowed to change the ISO setting, because the idea is that you're actually just using one film. You're not allowed to change the ISO setting. You can change anything else in the camera, but you're not allowed to change the ISO setting. I should have put that on the graphic, but that is this week's challenge. Now, if I go to the end scene here, I bet you I put the wrong date on here. I bet I haven't changed it. And every time I do this, there's no date on there, William. Well done. Yeah, so this is for next week. We're moving on to the next week's show now because we're coming to the end of today's show. We're getting up to nearly 20 minutes. Next week's show is going to be about the benefits of photography tuition. Now, there's going to be a slight difference next week. I'm actually going to be taking a break next week. I'm going away. I'm not going to be around on Wednesday evening. I believe I'm going to be driving probably 7 o'clock in the evening. Well, this time next week, I'm expecting to be driving over a large bridge right now. I'm going to see if that's what I'm going to be doing. If I get the opportunity to, and I really will hopefully get the opportunity to, I will do a short live stream next week. But I will be pre-recording a show for next week that will be released at 7 o'clock at the time of the live show. The live show normally goes out. But that is this week's show. As always, thanks very much for watching. Whether you're watching live or you're watching in the past, you can't watch in the past. If you're watching in the future, I don't know. Watching in the past. Well done, William. Thanks very much for watching. This has been the Shot at an Angle show. It's here live every week on facebook.com/Shot at an Angle, 7 p.m. GMT. I hope you have a good week. And I shall see you soon. I'll get myself back on the screen. Thanks very much. Have a good week.